Right now you are wearing clothes. You barely notice it. The fabric on your skin has become invisible to you like background noise. But strip it away and something strange happens. Within minutes, your skin starts to feel exposed in a way that has nothing to do with temperature. Why? Your ancestors didn't wear clothes for hundreds of thousands of years. So when exactly did that change, and what did it cost you? For most of human history, there was no need for clothing. Early hominins living in Africa 2 million years ago had bodies built for heat, not cold. Thick body hair would have trapped sweat and caused overheating during long hunts under the equatorial sun. So evolution did something unusual. It stripped the hair away. Humans became one of the only mammals on Earth with mostly bare skin. In exchange, they gained something powerful. Millions of sweat glands, spread across the entire body, allowed early humans to cool down faster than almost any other animal. This is part of why humans could run prey to exhaustion, chasing animals across open plains for hours until the animal simply collapsed from heat. Bare skin was not a flaw, it was a weapon. But bare skin comes with a cost. No fur means no natural insulation. So how did humans survive the freezing nights, the shifting seasons, the migration out of Africa into colder climates? The answer sat hidden in DNA for a long time. Then scientists found a clue in an unlikely place: lice. Human lice come in two main types. One lives in head hair. The other lives specifically in clothing, clinging to fabric rather than skin. In 2003, biologist Mark Stoneking led a study analyzing the genetic divergence between these two louse species. Since clothing lice could only have evolved after clothing existed, their genetic split marked a rough timestamp. The data pointed to roughly 170,000 years ago. That is when clothing likely became a regular part of human life. Think about what that means. Humans existed for over 1 million years before that point, walking through cold nights with nothing but bare skin. Then, gradually, something changed. Not because someone got the sudden idea to invent fashion, but because survival demanded it. Around that time, Homo sapiens began pushing beyond the warm plains of Africa. Migration routes stretched toward the Middle East, toward Europe, toward regions where temperatures dropped far below what bare human skin could handle. Without insulation, exposure to cold air can cause the body to lose heat faster than it can produce it. Hypothermia does not care how clever your brain is. It kills quickly and quietly. So early humans adapted. Animal hides, once used only for shelter or tool making, were repurposed, wrapped around the body, tied with sinew worn as a second skin. The earliest clothing was not stitched or shaped. It was simple, functional. A layer between a fragile body and a hostile environment. But here's where the story gets more interesting. Evidence suggests true sewn clothing, garments shaped to fit the body, came much later. Around 40,000 years ago, bone needles start appearing in the archaeological record. Sharp, narrow, with a tiny hole for thread. This wasn't just wrapping fabric around yourself anymore. This was tailoring. Archaeologist Olga Soffer studied sites in Eastern Europe where imprints of woven fibers were found pressed into clay, dating back roughly 27,000 years. Her research suggested that early humans were not just wearing hides. They were weaving, twisting fibers into cords, creating something closer to textiles. Clothing was evolving from survival gear into something more complex. And this is where the story stops being just about warmth. Once clothing existed, it did something no one anticipated. It became a canvas. Different furs signaled different hunting skills. Certain patterns marked status within a group. Coverings that once served pure function slowly began carrying meaning. What you wore started to say something about who you were. This shift changed the human brain in ways still visible today. Consider shame. Nearly every human culture, regardless of geography or climate, developed some concept of modesty tied to the body. Anthropologists have long debated whether this emerged purely from clothing's existence or something deeper. But the timing lines up strangely well. Once covering the body became normal, exposure became notable. And what is noticed can quickly become judged. Psychologist Paul Ekman, known for his research on universal human emotions, identified embarrassment and shame as expressions found across nearly all human cultures, even those with no historical contact with each other. That suggests these are not simply learned social rules but something wired deep into human psychology. Clothing may have acted as an amplifier, giving a physical form to an emotional instinct that was already there, waiting. Now think about your own body. When you get dressed in the morning, you are repeating a pattern older than written language. You are not just protecting yourself from the cold. You are participating in a system your ancestors built 170,000 years ago out of pure necessity. A system that slowly grew layers of meaning far beyond survival. There is something else worth noticing. Clothing changed how humans relate to their own skin. Before clothing, nakedness was simply the default. There was nothing to compare it to. But once covering became the norm, the exposed body took on new weight. It became something private, something vulnerable, something meaningful specifically because it was uncovered. This is likely why humans, alone among primates, experience something like self-consciousness about their own bodies. A chimpanzee does not feel shame walking through its territory unclothed. But humans do, almost universally, the moment they are seen without the layer they have learned to expect. Some researchers argue this shift also reshaped human social bonding. Anthropologist Ian Gilligan has proposed that clothing was not simply a response to cold climates but an active driver of cultural complexity. Once humans had the ability to modify their appearance, they gained a new tool for communication, one that did not require speech. A tool that could signal identity, group belonging, even emotional state, all through fabric and form. So the next time you get dressed, notice what is actually happening. Your fingers moving through a routine so old it predates spoken language as we know it. Your body responding to an ancient survival instinct, now dressed up, quite literally, as a daily habit. It started with sweat glands and bare skin, a trade-off that let early humans outrun prey under a brutal sun. It shifted with migration into freezing unknown lands, when survival demanded new solutions. It transformed with a needle and thread, turning necessity into identity. And it lives on every single morning, when you choose what to wear without even thinking about why. Right now, you are wearing clothes. But now you know. It was never really about fashion. It was about heat, hides, needles, and 170,000 years of human beings quietly learning how to survive themselves.